Hey everyone, this is Josh Childress here, former NBA player turned real estate investor. Catch me on the Jesse T Show. Yeah, so Josh Childress, originally born in Compton, California, born and raised, and ended up going to Stanford to play basketball for 3 years. After that, spent about the last 15 years playing professional basketball. Played in Atlanta, Phoenix, Brooklyn, Japan, Australia, Greece. So I've been all over the world with the game of basketball, and now transitioning into the real estate investing space. And so I've been doing that for about the last 2 years on a professional level and really enjoying it. It's been a great journey, great learning experience, and hoping to continue to grow in that space.
Man, I want to touch on a lot of that, and I know where your head and your heart's at today with real estate and everything. And so, with your growing up, talk about Compton, because you hear, I grew up in the '90s, and listening to Tupac and Dr. Dre and NWA and all this stuff, and you hear about how rough Compton can be, right? And just was your experience similar? Did you see some of the same things? And essentially, how did you get out?
Yeah. I mean, they weren't lying in their lyrics, right? Compton is definitely a rough place. I was fortunate in the regard that I had two older brothers that, lived it and breathed it before me. So, they really helped me navigate, where to go and how to operate, and to be frank, like sports was also a buffer. I mean, I was active in sports, early on in my childhood, basketball, baseball, football, all the sports, and that really allowed me to kind of stay insulated from, I think, a lot of the other activities that were going on around me. So Compton is near and dear to my heart, and we'll talk about some of the things I'm working on there later. But it's a rough place.
I grew up in a town called East Boston, and it's pretty rough in its own right. It's if you've heard of Southeast, renowned for being kind of a tough place. Eastie's the same way, and there was always this kind of understanding that if you played sports or if you were doing certain things, some of the gangs or some of the rougher people around there kind of gave you a pass in a sense, like they weren't screwing with you too much. Was that similar for you growing up?
Yeah, absolutely, it was similar. Funnily enough, like we used to play against each other and play together, right? So I'd be up at the park, a little scrawny, 10-year-old kid playing against, some of the most ruthless guys you could meet, and we bonded on the court, and so sports is a unifying game. I mean, it's a unifying activity, and it's no different, from when I was living abroad. I mean, it brings so many different people together, so many different cultures and ethnicities, and people from different walks of life. So that was definitely evident in the city of Compton, and we used to, battle it out on the courts, on a daily basis.
I'm sure there's probably a fine line you have to walk there, because the other side, like you're not just battling kids from the neighborhood, you're battling dudes that could end your life, like people that lived in that world. So were there ever any hairy moments where you might be, going at somebody, or you're breaking them down and like you're just dominating them, and then like you have to worry about them like coming after you after the game?
No, we didn't. I didn't have any of those. Thankfully,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, that's a scary situation for sure. Are you or I should say, have you, like growing up in Compton, did you ever have anyone like try to like seduce you to that side of things, like bring you over and join a gang or any of that stuff?
No, I
No.
didn't. I mean, like I said, I had two older brothers that, that grew up in the neighborhood. They were, close with and/or friends with and/or had I guess a respect from a lot of what you would consider, OGs, in the neighborhood. And so that line was never crossed with me, thankfully. But that's a credit to my brothers.
And then before we jump forward to kind of the trajectory from there, were there any moments that you saw that were life changing in terms of any friends that had any issues, got hurt, or any stuff like that while you were there?
I mean, you saw violence. I remember the first time I saw, a gun get pulled out, and I don't think I've ever run as fast in my life as I ran that day.
Feet weren't touching the ground.
I feel like my feet did not touch the ground, right? But outside of that, the I had a great childhood, and I can't say that there were moments there that I feared for my life. Outside of that one, but I was pretty far away from that. And I'm thankful that I experienced that because it's made me who I am today.
Yeah, man. Thankful for your brothers and the sport of basketball to be able to kind of insulate you and guide you, and it led you to pretty much the opposite environment to go from Compton to Stanford, where you have princes and princesses and people that are just way out of that normal realm of just day to day. Like, what was that like going from Compton to Stanford?
Massive culture shock. Massive culture shock. Stanford is its own ecosystem. It's a unique place that I didn't necessarily know what to expect going in, but I felt like as time went on, I was able to assimilate to the culture and thrive there. But my first day on campus, I show up in some 5XL baggy Rockaware
Oh
outfits.
yeah.
I see Birkenstocks and cargo shorts everywhere. And I'm like, where am I, dude? So no, but it's fun to think back to that, and just the amount of people, really successful and or royalty, right? That I was sitting next to in class that I had no idea. So, and I think that's the beautiful thing about Stanford is that you can, marry a bunch of different cultures into this, ecosystem, and everybody seems to get along well and thrive.
Remember that movie back in the day with Shaquille O'Neal and Penny Hardaway, Blue Chips? Ever see
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
One of my favorite movies growing up, and there was just like this idea of like when you played sports, you were catered to and that you got taken care of. Was there any like was life easier or harder for you being an athlete on campus?
100% harder.
Yeah.
There is no catering to you at that place. Coach Montgomery was very much of the mindset that you got into Stanford, you can figure it out. And so, we had tutoring for our first quarter on campus, and that was it, unless you needed it. And it was just you're a man now. So you step into the space, you handle your business in practice, you handle your business in the classroom. If you have issues, we'll deal with it. But you're here to do what you said you were going to do. You're a highly motivated, individual. So come in and work.